A warning to our audience, this next segment contains descriptions and images of police violence. We turn now to Mississippi, where 6 white former police officers who called themselves the GOONS Squad have pleaded guilty to raiding a home and torturing 2 black men earlier this year.
One of the men is 32-year-old Michael Jenkins, who was not only allegedly beaten and assaulted, but also one of the deputies shot him in the mouth. Michael Jenkins and 35-year-old Eddie Parker were both subjected to a 2-hour torture session. They say it happened at their Braxton home in rural Rankin County on January 24th. According to the 49-page lawsuit, deputies handcuffed, tased, beat, and waterboarded the men, forced them to strip and shower together, and even used a sex toy to attempt to sexually assault the men, all while hurling racial slurs.
According to prosecutors, Hartfield tased the men while they were handcuffed. He also tried to dispose of evidence in the case.
Well, you talk about how they were drinking liquids. It wasn't just liquids being forced down these guys' mouths. It was boiled grease. Like they were boiling grease, boiling water.
Was it hot?
Yes.
You're saying it wasn't boiled, it was actually boiling.
Like boiling, yes. Like they were boiling grease and water and making these guys drink it. Yes. And then they were waterboarding them with milk and then sexually assaulting them, obviously kicking them in the ribs. The worst, I mean, it's all bad, but the worst part to me, though, was what they did to Michael Corey Jenkins. Obviously, shooting him was bad enough, but leaving him there laying in his own blood while they try to figure out how to cover it up.
Yeah.
They're all admitting their role in the cover-up after the crime.
Based on the facts and their guilty pleas, all of the former deputies lied to me that night of this incident in January. We have cooperated fully with all outside investigating agencies to uncover the truth and bring justice to the victims. We've also sought assistance from outside agencies and consultants to help us in repairing our trust with the community.
Yeah, unfortunately, when you read it, you think it's a fiction novel, but the reality is those things occurred. Fortunately, NBI, through its investigation, working with the FBI and its partnership with them, we're able to get confessions. And you know how it is in these investigations. Once you get one, it tends to snowball from there, and others come on board and acknowledge what had occurred.
The officers include former Rankin County deputies Brent McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, Christian Deadman, Hunter Elward, and Daniel Opdyke. Joshua Hartfield is a former Richland police officer.
Gathered on the porch of the house to discuss how to cover it up. What indifference, what disregard for life.
Following the full day of court hearings, U.S. Attorney Darren LaMarca revealed that the officers planted Jenkins and Parker with methamphetamine from a previous case, as well as a BB gun that was used as part of the torture the officers conducted that night.
The actions of these defendants not only caused significant physical, emotional, and psychological harm to the victims, but also caused harm to the entire community who feel that they can't trust the police officers who are supposed to serve them. The defendants in this case wanted to send a message to the victims that they didn't belong in Rankin County, but we have a message of our own. Abusive law enforcement officers will not be tolerated in any of our communities, and we will pursue justice and accountability whenever and wherever police misconduct rears its ugly head.
When these police officers do these things, you don't know who to turn. You don't have a guide out there to know who to go to for help.
My family and my son, y'all wouldn't believe the hell that we've been through. The mental. Me and my wife sit out on our porch, but now we you don't know who's lurking, who we live out on the highway, who's gonna run up in the yard, start shooting. So our lives have been drastically changed.
His tongue was separate. It was holding on by a sliver when the bullet went through.
Jenkins' mom, Mary, says the bullet shattered the nerve in her son's left jaw, which has made it difficult for him to eat.
And Malik Shabazz, can you place Rankin County for us in two ways, in history and also just geographically. It's right near Jackson, the capital.
Yes, Attorney Trent Walker says, who grew up in Rankin County, my partner, Attorney Trent Walker, states that this was customary in Rankin County. They beat first and they don't ask questions later. They beat you, they kill you, and you are ordered not to say anything about it. Hunter Elwood, the shooter, actually pled guilty in federal court to another crime he had committed, which contained a similar fact to what he did in the home of Jenkins and Parker. When these deputies busted in to begin this torture session, Hunter Elwood shot his gun off as an intimidation against Jenkins and Parker. Before he shot Michael later, he shot his gun off. Well, he pled guilty in federal court to doing the same thing to another person in Rankin County. He just shooting his gun off like that. So what we're saying, ma'am, is that all of these truths are going to come to light. Rankin County has done this for a long time. It's near Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi, and I believe the county is sort of a reaction to Jackson. Jackson is in Hinds County. It's majority black, and there's hostility towards Jackson, and Rankin is like a white enclave that is next to Jackson, and it's set up like almost like a political, social antithesis or against Jackson. And so they're clear in Rankin, just 20 minutes away from Jackson, Mississippi, just like these deputies said. They didn't want any black men living in the area. The mere fact that there were black men in this area, that they were going to carry out this mission and let them know that they were not welcome and they were going to violate all laws and break in.
Because Brian Bailey should not be the sheriff of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department.
That these defendants, Hunter Elwood, Dedman, Brett McAlpin, Middleton, Osdike, and Joshua Hartfield.
Sheriff Bailey, I know your voice was cracking last week, buddy, and you was sitting there and crying. He say he didn't know nothing about it. And I didn't know nothing about it. I'd be a fool to think that.
And it certainly is not limited to just these 6 officers. And consistently coming in, taking some of these same actions, shoving guns into people's mouths, beating people, tasing them, various actions of torture that have been committed. And it wasn't always these officers, it's definitely other officers.
It's a bittersweet, piece, and I only say that because it is definitely bitter for this to have happened again, and we have that here we go again mentality, but to see that it possibly could be a shift with indictments, and then when you're talking about people pleading guilty to something, so to have 6 officers plead guilty to something that has been never heard of before, to me gives a little small sign of hope.
President of the Rankin County NAACP, Angela English, tells us she is asking for the maximum sentence.
We have letters for the judge, for the state sentencing, Honorable Judge Ratcliffe. We hope that you all will sign that letter. The letter simply states we would like for him to impose the maximum sentence for the maximum crimes that they have committed, and just follow in the footsteps of the Honorable Judge Lee.
So you have killer officers, you have racist officers amongst this department. This is not just the gun, and that's what I'm here to let you know, that it not only is happening all around our state, it's happening all around the country. There's an attack on black life.
They have racist organizations in the state of Mississippi, over 45 racist organizations. And I did this during my research in the master's program at Belhaven University. And what I found out is if you have 45 racist organizations with over 1,000 members per organization here in Mississippi, then guess who your law enforcement enforcement officers are. Guess who they are?
This incident is showing us the pattern and the recipe that they've been using for years.
The mere fact that you didn't know is the reason why we are demanding that immediately you be relieved of your duty.
This group of activists believe more deputies could potentially be a part of the Goon Squad. That's why they're calling on the Department of Justice to continue investigating Bailey and his department.
Just because we got 6 of the dumbest cops, deputies ever in the history of Mississippi, just because we got them fired, I'd be a fool to think it wasn't some more of them.
Okay.
I'd be a fool to think that.
It's a squad.
It's a squad. So we come to disassemble, dismantle, terminate the Goon Squad.
All right, this is a big week. This is a week that we have been waiting on for months. This sentencing was supposed to take place in November. It was supposed to take place in January.
That's right.
It has been continued and continued, and now the day of justice has finally come.
That's right.
For the Rankin County Goon Squad. It's an important day, not only in Mississippi, but this is an important day for accountability.
That's right.
For police brutality all throughout America. Police officers are watching this sentencing. They're watching the sentences that the Honorable Judge Lee will give out tomorrow. And they're watching to see whether law enforcement in Mississippi and law enforcement in America will be held sufficiently accountable for their acts of torture and brutality. On behalf of the victims of these horrific crimes, Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker, as their attorneys, we are here to say that we are here advocating and seeking and desiring the maximum sentence for all 6 Rankin County Goon Squad defendants.
That's right.
We want the maximum sentence. What do we want?
Maximum sentence.
That's what we're here for.
But it will be if I accept your guilty plea, I want to make sure you're going to plead guilty. You want to plead guilty?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions? How do you plead count 1, hindering prosecution in the first degree, guilty or not guilty? And in count 2, how do you plead conspiracy to commit hindering prosecution in the first degree, guilty or not guilty? Any reason why I could not accept these pleas?
No, sir.
Will be if I accept your guilty plea, I want to make sure you want to plead guilty. Do you want to plead guilty?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
How do you plead count 1, hindering prosecution in the first degree, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
And how do you plead count 2, conspiracy to commit hindering prosecution in the first degree, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Any reason why I could not accept these pleas?
No, sir.
Court finds the defendant's pleas of guilty or freely, voluntarily, knowingly, intelligently made and entered further finds out the factual basis. The court therefore accept the defendant's pleas of guilty, adjudicate him to be guilty on count 1, hindering prosecution in the first degree, and guilty on count 2, conspiracy to commit hindering prosecution in the first degree. Judgment and conviction will be entered in the order of PSI and will set sentencing at a later date.
Justice is being enacted in Mississippi.
Joshua Hartfield, the last of 6 Mississippi law enforcement officers, was sentenced Thursday in the torture of 2 black men in January of 2023. He received a 10-year prison term. Of the day's sentencings, Brett McAlpin, the highest-ranking officer on scene that night, was sentenced to more than 27 years.
I think for Mr. McAlpin to be sentenced to more time than the actual person who shot Mr. Jenkins, I fought against that, but unfortunately, you respect the court's rulings when they make a ruling.
As a former Richland police officer, Hartfield was the only defendant who was not a member of the Rankin County Sheriff's Office. According to prosecutors, Hartfield tased the men while they were handcuffed. He also tried to dispose of evidence in the case. His attorneys argued for a lesser sentence, but prosecutors told the court he wanted to work for the Sheriff's Department and applied to work there.
We've been waiting on this for years and ages, and here's a new day. I hope.
Prosecutors described McAlpin, a former deputy, as the one calling the shots and as Mafia Don. Eddie Parker, a victim, during his impact statement, told the court that he's been waiting to come face-to-face with McAlpin.
The night of January 24th, sympathy was only in me and Michael's eyes. Sympathy was the only thing we wanted.
sympathy is what we did not get.
Through the hearing, McAlpin made no eye contact with the victims, but during that night in Braxton, Parker says that he watched the defendant, quote, walk around that house like he was the man. It was also made clear that McAlpin, who lived in the same neighborhood where Parker and Michael Jenkins were tortured, made the initial call to another officer.
Well, I'm so thankful again for Judge Lee. And like I said in there, you can tell he's not a part of the good old boy clan. He's for justice.
4 other deputies learned their fates on Tuesday and Wednesday. The harshest sentence given to Dedman, described as the ringleader in the courtroom. He will serve 40 years.
I want to end with the voices of Michael, Corey Jenkins, and Eddie Terrell Parker. How you have lived through the aftermath of this, the trauma that you have experienced, and what you want to come out of this. I mean, it looks like you are exposing an entire sheriff's department in Mississippi. Let's begin with Eddie Parker.
We want justice. We want justice for everyone that has gone through this with Rankin County or gone through this because of Rankin County. We want justice for the ones that were afraid to speak up. You know, justice for the ones that can't speak up. We want you know, something new and better, you know, and clean to come out of this.
And Michael Jenkins.
Basically the same thing, to make sure nobody never go through what we went through again. You know, animals don't get treated like this. You know, I ain't never seen no animal get treated like this.
Well,
just to make sure.
I just want to thank you, Michael, Corey Jenkins, and Eddie Terrell Parker, for your bravery in coming forward and telling your stories. And also, I want to thank Malik Shabazz, the civil rights attorney with Black Lawyers for Justice.